Hello everyone, so we are live. My name is Shreya. Welcome to DPL 2.0. I am your chair for today. The theme today is environment, and the topic is this house as UN would mandate that all countries hold their new space exploration programs. So that's your topic for today. All the best to everyone. Let's start the debate. I welcome the Prime Minister to come and present their case. Here.
Hello, this is Nidhi from MVIT Challenges. My gender pronouns are gonna be she/her, and our motion states that this House, as the UN, would mandate that all countries hold their new space exploration programs. I'll be starting in three, two, one. Okay. So why do we say that we're gonna, stop these the space exploration programs? One, let me just clear it out. Space exploration is not the problem in our case. We since the climate change and global warming is the biggest issue right now, and we have to what we government believe that we have this is the biggest priority right now, and that's why it is important to focus on that. And now I'll be explaining more on this and how we are our model is gonna be. Okay, so there I go with the model. We Okay, let's go with the current those exploration programs which are going currently. We are going to search out which program is priority, which is the more priority right now. On that basis, we'll decide whether to continue it or not. So since we already know that a space exploration program take decades, and then you have to send a lot number of rockets, gonna be manned, unmanned, and in between, if the rocket destroys or there's something happens, then you require a lot of rockets to be sent for one exploration program to succeed. And on top of that, you don't know whether the program is going to succeed or not. So that is the issue here. Okay, so as I already said you, we are going to see whether the current program is a priority right now or not. For example, a astronaut is stuck in the space, so it's our priority to bring him back. So we're not going to halt the mission, we'll continue it. Okay, now about those upcoming space programs, what we do is we are going to halt them. And please do not think that we are the engineers involved are going to be unemployed. We are not at all doing that. Here we are going to make use of those engineers to help out with our current global issues, um, be it climate change and the current advancements. So what we do is we employ these researchers, scientists, in the technical advancement. And for example, you know in past decades, we used to face the problem of space junk and basically rockets. We once the rocket is sent, we cannot use it. We weren't able to reutilize it, right? But now that the technology have advanced, we are able to utilize it back, right? So that is how the technical and technological advancement works, and that's what we are trying to focus on, so that we cause minimal harm to the nature or the environment. And I'll just say it once, that a rocket causes a lot of harm to all the four layers, and which the harm is far greater than what you see, what it is caused by the aircrafts, or you might say planes. So the gases released are far more dangerous for the environment for these layers, and it takes very too much time to fill it up or recover, which is like basically not possible if you keep on sending the rockets, right? This is what we have. What we do is we we provide government subsidies and fund and put research on these current climate issues and global issues and resolve them, and then
Uh, can you please check your internet connection? Your video is paused for me. Is it just me or others are also cannot hear her? Okay, all right. Um, Akriti, yeah. Thank you for time pausing the timer. Um, let's wait for her to fix her internet connection. Can someone in the team inform her if they're in contact with her that she is not audible to us right now? Oh, maybe she's
I will
fixing it.
do that.
Oh, thank you so much. Anuj, were you able to contact her?
We are able to contact her. I think there's a network issue from her end. She will be joining in. I will let you know when she will be
Didi,
joining.
she's in backstage. She's in backstage. Can OC check that thing, please?
Yes, yes. Just send the private chat.
thank you. Am I visible and audible first of all?
Yeah, you are perfectly visible and audible.
uh,
We have
where
paused the time for
did
you.
my network
We lost
got
you
lost?
on. Okay, we lost you on the point where
Where
you
did
were
the
saying that we need to invest our resources in the current issues. You were in the flow where you were explaining this.
was I done with stakeholders? Was I done with stakeholders?
No, no.
No. Okay. Um, so yeah, we were we okay. How many minutes?
You have about 2 minutes, 30 to 45 seconds. We lost you
Okay,
between that.
so I guess I have already explained about how we are resolving the issues. I mean, how we are halting it, and how we are taking. I mean, also employing those researchers back into the climate change kind of things, and I was explaining about how the spacecraft destroys the ozone layer and all the four other layers, and which is hard to recover. And then okay, I'll go with the stakeholder analysis and who are the stakeholders. So one, the stakeholders is gonna be your space exploration industry as a whole, and your it's gonna be your researchers and scientists, and the people of the country and people of the globe, right? Because they are the people who suffer the most due to the climate change, and again that access go to these so we are addressing all their problems, one by providing them the resources, and second by we are addressing space exploration industry by seeing which program is important, and then launching them based on their priority. And the current, I mean, those upcoming programs are kept in hold because of the issues, current prior issues, that is nothing but global warming and climate change is. So because of that, we are halting it. And about scientists, we are re-employing them and taking their expertise, and government is also providing subsidies and funds for the research programs, and taking their again expertise in the research program of mm, research program, okay, of resolving the current issues. And people are now people we are now focusing on climate change. So your people are being addressed, and their issues are getting reduced. So I've explained about stakeholders. Now I've explained about impacts on all these stakeholders too. um, yeah. What else? Any POIs? I mean, I guess it's the freestyle.
It's the
Yeah,
protected time. You cannot take PO.
yeah. So that's how we are addressing all the issues, and you know saving the nature too by halting these things. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for your speech. Now I invite leader of opposition to put on their case. Here, here.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
So yeah, I would like to start my speech by saying that the side proposition lives in a complete utopian world. They have no idea as to whatsoever case they are proposing here. Their entire case was full of assumptions, and there was no explanation as to how they are going to implement these things. So I'm not going to engage much on their case, as my second member will show you where the case stands in this debate. But so I'm going to start with what we are proposing to the panel, what our side of the house proposes. So I'm going to start my speech by listing all the major stakeholders in this debate. See, the first major stakeholders in this debate is the UN, United Nations. Sorry. Yeah. So first major stakeholder in this debate is UN, United Nations. So United Nations, as you all know, is as a body is they cannot mandate each and every country to do certain things. They can only issue their guidelines and code of conduct, etc. They cannot force any country to do certain things. And as we have already seen in case of Russia-Ukraine war, and in case of Israel-Palestine war, there was even after issuing of the guideline, as we can say, mandating that Russia should stop its advancement on Ukraine and not do all those things. The war still happened and still happening. So we can say that UN cannot mandate all countries, and all countries, there is no such guarantee that all countries will listen to UN and stop their ongoing space exploration programs. Now, coming to my second stakeholders, that is people and the society as a whole. Now, panel understand this space exploration is not only about exploring new areas outside of Earth to live and to sustain life. Space exploration shows us a sign that we as a society, we as a human species have advanced, have a step up from what we were thousands of years ago. So space exploration gives people a hope of a hope that they can better themselves. We as a society are bettering ourselves each and every day. So if we stop this space exploration program, it crushes the hope of people, and it does not crush the hope of people, and it also it also curtails our society to be technologically advanced, as now we are not exploring those avenues. So now coming to my third point, which is third stakeholder, which is the developing countries. Now, what is the incentive for the developing countries in halting these space exploration program? First, let me discuss what this space exploration program means to these developing countries. Due to this space exploration program, developing countries get foreign investment. With these foreign investment, they can create new jobs in their country, which is at most requirement, which is the first priority of each and every developing countries in world currently. With space exploration brings in foreign investment. Foreign investment brings in more job. More job mean more more satisfied people. More satisfied people means good society. So there is no incentive for developing countries to currently stop their new space exploration program. And the side proposition fails to give me any sort of idea that how this is going to be beneficial for these countries to stop these space exploration programs. Now, coming, I talked about developing countries, like why they cannot stop these programs as it is not in their favor. Now, what about developed countries? What is there for developed countries to continue on this space exploration program? I will give you example of Cold War. During Cold War, both Russia and USA, they were in Cold War, and that is the time when the world saw the at most most technological advancement. See, when the two developed countries are competing with one another, they tend to bring out their best. They tend to do the best that they can. We saw in the Cold War that uh, sorry, so developed countries, so in the current status quo, developed countries are as a much are at as a much farther the position in the space exploration than the developed countries. So it is not beneficial for them also to stop these programs as they're competing with each another. So if they stop, and let's say we all know that Russia and China, they're not going to listen to these UN guidelines, and they will be much more advanced. So it is not in favor of USA also to stop these space exploration program. So it is I have given the all four stakeholders that it is not beneficial for any of them to if the current motion comes in place. Also, lastly, I want to talk about scientists and researchers as a whole. What scientists and researchers do is I want to revert one point also of the side proposition. When they come here and talk about that, they will utilize these scientists and in other sectors of the society as in other sectors of the society as a in other sectors of the society. But see, panel of scientists who is researching on space exploration on in heavenly bodies and in space programs, you can't use his intelligence to for environmental studies. So it is not completely feasible to do so. Also, see, scientists, when they are developing these methods for space exploration, these devices, like when they like first cleaner fuel technology that was developed to send rockets to the space using cleaner fuels. Now in coming is this cleaner fuel can also be used to help our environment be more clean. So see, in our paradigm we have both. We are also not halting the space, and with this current space program we can also develop new technologies. We can also develop new technologies to help the current status quo of our world, that is improve efficiency and make our world a much better living place. So I so panel, what I gave you is that I gave you the five major stakeholders in this debate: UN, people, developing countries, developed countries, and technology. I was very clear that how this space exploration is not going to help these all of them in not in a single way, and the side proposition fails to give us any clear idea of how they are going to achieve their utopian dream. So now, last minute remaining, I just want to touch so I also give you like why do we need space exploration? Why do we need space exploration in the first place? Space exploration is not only about searching for new things in the searching for new livable planet or habitable planet in the outer space. It is also about protecting the current planet that we are living on. Space exploration gives us protects us from protect the current habitable planet, that is Earth, from outside attack. So yeah, thank you. Proud to propose the motion. I would like to rest my case.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition, for your speech. I would encourage all participants to take up POI and ask more POI for better engagement in the debate. Now, I'd like to call Deputy Prime Minister to continue their case. Here.
Am I audible? Can you confirm? Yes. Good evening, everyone. Today, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So I would be taking this motion further as the Deputy Prime Minister. So my speech starts in three, two, one. So basically, what the opposition leader is trying to imply that we are living in a utopian dream. We are assuming. First, I would like to address that this is not an assumption. There has been an advancement in science since the 20th century, and it will keep on advancing. So earlier we used to launch about like 70 rockets into the space, but now it is increased up to 140 rockets per year. And the one thing which is alarming about this is that like each rocket when emitted into the space, then it releases about like 144 kilotons of carbon emission into the space in just like in the time span of 165 seconds. This is an alarming situation because now only we are on the brink, we are facing the global warming, which is affected every aspect of the whole world in both economically and socially. And the major concern is that the space effluents which are released into the atmosphere, they are like uh, they are affecting the ozone layer, which is like the most biggest concern, which is always there in the news. And these effluents, these are once they are released into the atmosphere, they are like spread into the whole atmospheric layers. It just not only stays in the troposphere, but it spreads to all the four layers, that is troposphere, stratosphere, ionosphere, and exosphere. It reaches all the layers and affects all the layers. And secondly, I'd like to express like for developing nations, the space exploration program is like it can wait. We can, as my PM has already mentioned that. My PM has already mentioned that we will give subsidies to the scientists and engineers and the whole aerospace industry, that we will give them time to like invest in their research. And research is more important for them at this point of time rather than practically doing it, because the probability of success in these type of mission is very low. And it develops a trust issues in the government, that they are like putting their money in this project which have very less probability of growing. Instead, we can focus on the growth of research and development. We can use that time and use that time span for like in researching for getting cleaner fuel, which can be used for these these rockets. And our model is like we are not permanently closing them. We are not permanently closing the space exploration. Rather than we are focusing on the temporary hold, and we can use that time span for like generating cleaner fuels and spending those time in the research and development. And the opposition leader has also mentioned that foreign investment will get closed. No, it will not get closed, because the foreign investments will come from the countries, because we will input that into the research. And after that, for that hold, then we can use that for like making a new research rockets. Like for example, earlier only like there were no reusable rockets. Now there are reusable rockets are there in the market. Now we can have them use like other type of more innovative ideas
Yeah,
can be there, like nuclear energy can be implemented in this time. Also I mentioned like coming on the global warming issue, at present Bangalore is like facing water crisis. Like at present, for a developing nation, it is more important to for like to face these types of issues, which are like more at a more immediate need than rather than space
POI.
exploration, which can help in the upcoming future, which will take time. So I think I have explained most of the thing. I can take some POIs.
you explained
Okay,
about.
as
Please ask.
okay, thank you. So as you said, we have to do some research. So what do you think that like how can you do the research without practically doing something? This is space exploration, not any like mixing chemicals in chemistry lab. So you have to do it practically first. So how will you explain your point?
like we can like nuclear bomb, when it was they were researching, they were practicing the theoretically, they formulated the theory, then they started it. And speaking of the chemistry, with chemistry, I have already told that we will be employing on clean fuels, and for those clean fuels we already have cars and other types of vehicle that can be used to help in development of these cleaner fuels. So it is not about for experiment purposes also, we, if experiment should be at low cost. Space exploration takes a lot of we have a separate budget for that industry. So it is not we can spend on that. Practically we can spend thousands of crores on that. So
POI.
cleaner fuel should be the solution for this. Yes.
5 minutes, Didi, I can ask.
Okay.
You mentioned about reusable rockets, right? So aren't reusable rockets just using the we are reducing the pollution caused by reusable rocket because you are reusing them. So how isn't it gonna just scissor your entire case of pollution now?
The although we are using the reusable rockets are there, I have mentioned, but I have also mentioned that we will take some more time for those for the more development on the rocket fuel, because reusable rockets is not the permanent solution for this. It will by using reusable rocket we are also providing harmful effluents into the environment right now. And so the even if we are using reusable rockets, there are harmful effluents are launched into the environment. So and the I would like to say that, and the increase in the number of rockets, as I have mentioned before, is also the cause that although we have reusable rockets, but the carbon emission in there is a very much big issue. Also, if a rocket gets damaged in the while launching into the troposphere, then it will also leave some debris in the atmospheric region, and also onto the land, which will also cause more pollution. I would like to rest my case from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister, for your speech. When you are getting multiple POIs, the speaker has the speaker can specify which POI you want to pick up so that there is no confusion. All right. Okay. Let's move on to our next speaker. I welcome the Deputy Leader of Opposition to enhance further their case. Thank you.
बस just give me a few minutes to set up my timer. बस दूसरा एक monitor लगा रहा हूँ एक second. मेरा personal timer. Sorry for the delay. क्या हो गया? केबल किधर गया? Give me 1 second. Sorry for the inconvenience. Just a few minutes. One second. हाँ voice POI preference by voice. Timer is set. Give me just 5 minutes के भाई. 0 yeah, cool. Just a very small introduction before I begin today's speech. Thank you for the opening comment for such fine speech. My name is Ayush Rathore. I don't have any preferred gender pronouns. Please, you can call me by my role. Also, I can prefer POIs anytime by voice or as well as chat. If I'm not able to answer at the right time, you can drop in chat. And if I think I have the time, I will take them up. Okay, OC panel starting in 3, 2, 1. Now, basically, I will just start with the rebuttals first of all, and then touching upon and expanding on the our stakeholders analysis and why our case fares better than opening government, as well as the entire house for today's summit, for today's debate, I guess. But first of all, the prime minister comes and says that we are halt as per their priority. They do not explain. Neither of the houses explain on how they going to prioritize, what are they going to prioritize, which type of mission. Now, astronaut stuck in space, that is a very reality that happens in movies like Gravity and all, but not in real life. Number one. Number two, rockets are not launched every day, right? Despite the, rocket launching 170 rockets launching per year, as per as the latest statistics goes, even Google statistics goes, but rockets are not launched per day, right? There is a months, there's a years of preparation that goes around. There's testing, there is formation, there is testing, there are competition, there are so many things that goes around before a rocket is launched. It's not launched every day. Number two, whenever a rocket is launched, now there are companies and countries which are using reusable rockets, which are reusing the rockets again and again, decreasing the amount of pollution caused by them by a lot. Number three, in world's most cleanest fuel is used in these rocket launches, that is hydrogen fuel, despite the cost effects that I know. So this number four, whenever you are launching a rocket, okay, it's correct. It creates some amount of pollution in all the four layers. But panel, please understand, as far as the motion goes, the focus is on the closest level of layer and locally. Whenever a rocket is launched, the pollution is mitigated all over the earth equally, and there is no one particular country getting affected by it, and it's very minor compared to what the current global warming, CO2, etc., is causing to a country in the lowest level. This is the number one thing. Now, number four, please understand that environmental and space, these two are two different domains. You cannot conclude environmental with space. Environmental propositions, mitigations, the damage is already done. Now the time is to mitigate the damage anyhow, right? So environmental conditions are always going to stay, like environmental research will always going to stay there, environmental research will be always going to stay there, and space research and engineers will be always staying there. Take a very clear example of nuclear research as well as space exploration program. In the past few years, we were able to invent reusable rockets, but in the past 20 years, in the goal of very clean fuel, we have not been able to advance in nuclear energy, right? It's still the same. Coal is again the most 50-60% cause of pollution currently, rather than space exploration, which was being drumbeaten by the opening government. Not touching upon our again stakeholders before explaining our model, trying to explain our model again. Number one, again, UN is not a law defining body, as clearly mentioned by my leader of opposition. Even if it releases mandates, sanctions, etc., the country still goes. You can take the example of Russia. Obviously, it gets affected by the lack of quality of imports and all. But yes, please ask.
What do you think is the most important? Money is spent coming from FDI, or money is spent on natural disaster relief camps, giving money, rebuilding the whole house, which is caused due to global warming? Please engage.
Okay, I'll touch upon that. First, let me complete this current stakeholder analysis. So it is not a law defining body. The sanctions do affect the countries to a certain extent, but it doesn't mean that they go totally go. At the start, the US and Russia were leading in the space program, but at the end, 90 countries are currently there. There are tens and thousands of companies involved. So this is a very common growth for all the people combined. Number two, I'll take your POI at the end while explaining my entire case. Number two, developing country, right? Now everybody knows about India, but let me take an example of very small country, developing country in Europe, that is Azerbaijan, right? So Azerbaijan space programs doesn't just affect, like, it has a space agency, all right, and it started just 10-15 years ago, but it is a very greater boost to its economy, national security, as they were able to avoid a local war, a coup recently in 2020 or some 2015, I don't remember the date. Now these costs, this FDI can these FDI was used in their number one, tourism, number two, environmental changes, as the POI mentioned, number three, as well as the economic growth of the country. Why? Because these STEM fields are some fields where you get FDI a lot compared to other local domains or other local sources, because these are the leading fields in the technology, especially concerned to STEM. I'll touch upon that on the POI again. Now, society. Coming upon again to society, society common goal is growth, right? If you take developing countries, they have the hope that their country is on a global chart now, that their country is their country is a global chart, it is being recognized by other countries. It also leads to urban planning, maritime mitigation, such as whenever an oil leak happens. So space exploration also does play a hand in environmental change, right? So This is concerned about society. Now when you come to very common people, as I said, it's very hope, it gives a very hope to these common people, right, about this thing. Number two, whenever these space programs are launched publicly, there are many competitions that are done in general public. Let's take example in India, where universities and colleges do participate in this satellite building competition, which are launched into space. So it creates a very hostile environment, or very fruitful environment of growth, scientific growth, etc. I touched upon the rebuttals. Now I'll touch upon the very basic case of how environmental and space go hand in hand, and you cannot mitigate. Yeah, please ask POI faster. Fast. Please answer. Please ask me text later. So environmental and space go hand in hand, right? Why? Because space, you cannot just ignore space at all. Now why? Because there are thousands of researchers that are going on. They have many research environment advancements already. If closing government and closing opposition comes with the case that we are going to stop future projects, but these are all the advantages are going on. At the end, if you just stop the projects, you are not going to do anything, because there are generally two types of project. Number one, space exploration programs. Number two, maintenance. Space exploration programs will give a common goal to people, to the economy, to everything. Maintenance is just maintenance of existing programs such as ISS, etc. I'm do touching upon this important fact that might be touched upon in the closing part. Number two, when now you compare the FDI, as the POI mentioned, FDI in space is the largest. Even the local companies which have produced, like such in Chandrayaan 3, they got a major growth in their that stock rates temporarily, but yes, space was a very major
POI.
concern in development. Protected time. Second, now space also plays a very common goal with the environmental changes. It helps in satellites, like Japan is able to mitigate the existing the tsunamis that it gets due to its satellite system, right? Azerbaijan, on the hand, in Europe, it is able to help. International Space Station as a whole can help due to maritime changes like oil leaks, etc. So, I hope we have touched upon this. I hope we have touched upon all the factors. Thank you for a very good debate. Proud to oppose the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Leader of Opposition, for your speech. Now I would like to welcome the Member of Government to present their case. Here.
Like once you remove, then only they can be added, right? He's in the backstage.
All right. Akriti is working on that. Give us a minute.
Hello, am I audible and visible?
You are audible and visible.
Okay, without taking any further time, I would like to start my case. So, firstly, understand panel, it is an actor motion. We need to understand why the UN nation need to mandate something that opening teams never proved. It was a problem. We are, as a closing government, is going to break this, and we are going to prove that how we winning. Firstly, we are halting all the space explorations, those which are currently going, continue and support, and so basically the ones which are going to come up in the future, and the ones which are currently going on will not be halted. They will be continued, so that the money which has been spent on it will not be lost. Secondly, I would like to come to the current status quo. Firstly, panel, it is very important to understand that the opening side totally left the current status quo. Firstly, understand that there are extreme weather conditions, for example, heat waves, floods, hurricanes, etc., which cause damage to the infrastructure, homes, livelihood, etc. Now,
POI.
there are I would like it. I would take it later. Now there are health concerns for the people on the globe. Now, thirdly, there is a depletion of water resources. Now, also there whenever the hydrogen production, which is used as a major fuel in the rockets, is used, it causes a lot amount of pollution. Now also economic coming to the economic impacts, it has a significant economic impact, such as damage to the infrastructure, decreased productivity. So how would you justify, how can the opening side justify that the damage that has been caused due to the infrastructure or the environmental damage is lesser than that of the one you're spending on the space explorations. Now coming to the losing of animals, plants, etc. Now we need to understand, panel, that the opening half said that there would be a healthy competition between space organizations and the nations. We need to understand that what is the current status quo. All the countries are in the state of fighting. Anytime World War III can happen. China has already created a weapon that can be used in space for fighting against other nation. Is it a motion, it is a point that we are doing space exploration or we are fighting. Secondly, there would even if some nation, let's say, reaches a moon and it has found something. Now let's say it would create a monopoly of that nation on the, whatever it has found, or let's say it has found something which would be very useful for using in military cases, then that would also create a problem for the other nations, as it would create discrimination among all the other nations, and there would be a monopoly of a single nation. Firstly, I would like to the opening half never said what their policy was, and they never explained it. Firstly, I would like to tell what my policy is. So the money which can be used in the, which is currently being used in the space explorations, should be used for the environmental impacts currently, not because seeing the current scenario, there is a problem, that the nations like India, etc., are facing heat waves. Bangalore is facing water crisis, etc. And the second point is, we can stop the space junk which has been thrown out into the space. Thirdly, we can reduce the hydrogen emissions, which I explained earlier already. Now the various fuel modules which are used in the space explorations are being thrown into the sea, which also has a variety of environmental impact. Also, we need to understand that NASA has a huge budget of 22 billion. Now that so much of money is used for uncertainty. Panel, we need to understand that how much of uncertainty do we have here, because when we are doing space exploration, as the opening half said that we are sending 140 rockets, but then per year, but then it is leading to technological advancements. Do you think that you are trading off short term economy for the long term environmental benefits? Why is that? Now firstly, the opening half failed to explain their case properly. They said that they are going to step up as nation wise, and they are doing technological advancements, and they are getting better every day. Are they getting better every day, such that they create weapons for it, or such that there is a World War III which is going? Also, there is also just a minute. Okay, now the opening half comes up and says that there is a competition, a healthy competition between the countries. Now in this competition, smaller countries like Vietnam, Maldives, etc., are also getting into this space exploration, spending huge amounts of money into it. If they are spending huge amounts of money onto it, rather than trying to spend it on their own people, where people are hungry, on their own country's development, rather than develop getting into space exploration, which is also a problem. So as I explained all of these points, it are we trying to create a fifth generation war? There is currently war going on in Russia, Ukraine, and other parts of the country. Are we going to create a fifth generation war using these spacecrafts or not? Just a minute. So So there so we are halting space explorations, and those countries which are currently doing some space explorations will be continued, and other countries, if they do not listen to it, they would for them sanctions would be imposed, through which there will be a disrupt in the trade. So best example of for this would be the US sanctions on the Iranian oil. Countries will boycott the most part of this. Now also there is one major problem that I missed, that there are no regulations and international standards that to monitor the outer space, which should be followed, and anything extra. So if rather than spending, I would like to rush my case by saying that rather than spending all of this money into the space explorations, we could spend this in the environment. Thank you.
I would like to thank member of government for their speech and welcome the member of opposition to present their case. Here.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Also, I would like to encourage all the participants to turn on their camera so that we can see all of you while you are talking. Right? So, Harsh, you can start whenever
Yeah.
you're ready.
Okay. Just give me a minute. Um, okay, let's start. So as the opposition has already said that what are we getting from the space explorations? So starting from when the space exploration was started, the advancement in the technology was very less. The new techs, there were many new techs which we got because of the efforts that we put into the space explorations. Techs like GPS, memory foam, water purification, material science, MRI. These are all the discoveries or inventions that were done because of the space exploration efforts. There was also a point that we are wasting like the resources and all about that fuel and all. So I would like to say that the sustainable fuel is also now being prepared. There's a it's Orbex, like it is a biopropane fuel, which is like we can also call it bio LPG. So it is made from the waste residues and the sustainably. I'm so sorry. What is Okay, so it is made from the waste residues, and this fuel offers the same performance as that of the LPG, but with a much lower carbon footprint. So we are using this. Also, many of the effort is there in like the whole organization, the whole space organization. It's everyone is putting their effort to just get it better, get the fuel that we are using to make it better and better. The the government, the opposition. So wait, yeah, it was also like if we were told to halt the whole satellite and space program. So if we halt it, then what about the satellite communications? Like how can we ensure that whatever is there is can will go in the safe hands? The developing nation, as being a developing part of a developing nation, we cannot just halt the space program. Like we are doing it, so we can't we should not be dependent on the developed nation for everything. And also if we talk about the economy, uh, as it was said that $22 billion are used by the NASA. So just for your information, though that 20 to 23 billion is even less than 0.5% of the economy of USA. So I'm saying 0.5, which is also like quite high only. And also as we know in 2020 or 21, Jeff Bezos went to space along with some of his colleagues. So maybe this can also be a big boost to the economy, like space exploration by the normal people, and also the Skyru Aerospace, if you have heard, is a homegrown business that was launched by the country, and like it is also helping the Indian economy. Okay, ask your questions.
POI.
Yeah, yeah.
What are your long-term goals? What are your long-term goals? Space exploration or like cleaner fuel and sustainable development?
Obviously space exploration, but by the cleaner fuels. We have to be on Earth. Like if we are on Earth, then for as much time we are on Earth, as for as long as Earth is habitable, we have to save the resources as well. Yes, please ask.
Waste products, whole idea of invention are the products which is only made and used by USA's. China and Russia don't have this technology, and USA don't fucking share this technology with the other countries, and China don't have any incentive to go on to invest. Why? Because they fucking care only about war and war. How you defend this?
The main motive of space exploration is also that to bring all the countries together. Like we can take example of ISS, like 5 6 countries are together in that. Many other research or some things are like going on in which many of the countries come together. Okay, US might not be giving its idea right now, but it's not like it's just for the US. Anyone can have that idea. Like, and we can produce that idea by ourselves. We can even get a better idea by ourselves with the
POI.
innovative minds that we have. Is that any other?
POI.
Yeah, yeah.
You have mentioned like only some percent USA just spent some percent of its
Mhm.
GDP on space exploration, but can you say that that this amount is can a developing nation can also spend this on space exploration rather than sustainable development and all other major issues?
Okay, a developing nation, if you mean a developing nation like India, maybe not right now, not 20 to 23%, not 20 to 23 billion right now, but it's not like it's not a race, it's a kind of teamwork. We have to give as much as we can. So like okay, any other question or shall I just continue? So okay, continuing my own point. So the Earth observation satellites, like which we are using right now, they provide the critical data for accurate predictions such as weather patterns and all. The space development eases the communication that we do, like from obviously we are doing right now. It's all because of the space development. The satellite imagery creates the accurate maps of disaster zones to navigate unfamiliar terrains, and we can like unfamiliar terrains and the remote areas. The prediction of early warning signs, detecting ground movement, monitoring activities, contributing to flood risk, or allowing the timely interventions in the natural calamities. So space exploration is helping us in many ways, and the research towards the cleaner fuel is like going at a rapid state, and it is also like resulting in the advancement of nuclear facilities, which as a result is leading to the the fuel which we can publicly use, and which will obviously ultimately help for the earth. And also, as you talked about the space debris, so Elon Musk literally tested these rockets that can be used again and again. Okay, so any POIs? The time's up. Okay, okay, then I rest my case here. Thank you for it.
Thank you, member of opposition, for your speech. I see most of you have kept your camera off. I would encourage you to turn them on, and we can have a fun debate by looking at each other. So I would like to welcome the government whip to continue their case. Here.
Hi, like before I start, I have a very bad internet. I keep on disconnecting. So at any point of time, if I'm not audible, Just let OS know. He will ping me and like or call me. Cool. Also, like I use one PI for sure. Just ask whenever, however. Cool. Just give me 1 second. I started my speech in three, 2, 1. I will take CEO directly out of the debate and prove that why CEO is fourth out. Sneha Khan just came and claimed the benefits that were just on 2 pointers that the member came on to explain. One, that how in the current status quo there is a deep part of like waste product generation in which the used products are used into status quo, into these space products, etc., etc., etc. Let's keep that out. One, this technology is something which is stringent directly to USA, and it's not something which is USA intend to share with other countries. Why? Because there is a big war coming up into a status quo, which my member explained that world is on a era of war in terms of like Israel, Iran, Ukraine, Russia, etc., etc. Second, China don't give a fuck about going and implementing these things into current status quo. China only care about is increasing its military presence, making technology which can go on to destroy satellites directly from Earth, and in terms of lasers, etc., high utility modern weapons that China is intended to go on to explain. So their whole fucking point of like how waste products can be used in its space exploration and how it leads down to less Earth, what I say, global warming, etc., is out of the table. Second, satellites for weather patterns, each imagery we can use, and it makes your life easier. Panel simple way out into the debate. Simple thing. Who are the people who are going to be most affected by this? One, we have on two simple vein metric out into the bit. On one side, we have poor people whose homes they drown each every year and they are like literally displaced. On second side, we have elite people, more like normal, like average middle class people who just use Google Map or navigating over one place to another. Whose life is one who's more fucked up into the current status quo, and this is where by simple vein metric will win this debate. But thirdly, like their whole idea of assertion in terms that it advances the nuclear fuel and etc., we can use this. They never go on to prove. It's just the assertion. Sneha just can't come and then go on to apply the utilitarian for that. Let's keep and take OG out from the debate. 4 points we got from OG. One, that UN can't mandate, and this is an actor motion. Government always have this fire to go on to prove that how UN can mandate. But even for the like simplicity, let's go on and debunk this. Number one, UN is controlled by the Western countries. Western countries and his allies are going to always back such sanctions. Sanctions can be put into place, which my member exclusively talks about. But secondly, UN has other like economic bodies such as WTO, IMF, UNGA, etc., where these bodies can be utilized into these developing countries if they don't want to listen to. The whole point that Russia ko kuch nahi, why something which is out of the table. There is a huge amount of MNCs from which like McDonald's, Apple products, etc., will pulled out from the stores and malls of Russia. And so something which is exclusively they never weighed on, and common people face the repercussions. And due to which common people on ground started protesting against Russian government to take out and withdraw the whole idea of UK, like occupation of Ukraine, which they don't give a fuck to. But secondly, even though to a greater sense, they go on to talk about that how people in society as a whole are going to be better off. Why? Because there is technological advancement and everything, yada yada things. Simple way in panel that my member explains to you on two grounds. Number one, climate change is something which is stringent. The whole idea that global warming is happening, which is leading to glaciers being melting and like rise of ocean, sea level, etc., which is causing droughts in these developing countries and underdeveloped countries. Africa is affected, Mumbai is affected, Bangalore may water crisis is there, all those yada things. Common people don't have a whole idea of metric and everything. Third, and the most fucking problem that they go on to talk about is FDI. FDI come, why? Because you get more money, economy may pass all those things. Simple way to take this out also. Number one, this is something which is stringently wrong. Why? Because number one, there is huge amount of resource which is going to spend upon things as disaster management. Just take for example, in Turkey, there was an earthquake happening. The whole idea of that people lost nearly about $350 billion. Government have to still go on to build houses from scratch, buildings from scratch, hospitals from scratch, everything from scratch. Why? Because huge amount of things are going to be destroyed. Each year in Bihar, there is a flood problem happening. Why? People are going to be diverted from their own homeland. They have to go on to keep to live in shelters and etc. things. This is something which is a mere fucking problem over there. And don't count it something which a member also goes on to explain and will be talk about in the impacts. And this is where the whole idea of FDI is something which is exclusively destroyed out into the current status quo. Their main burden which goes on to FDI would come, etc., but same amount of money, which is on a larger scale, is going to be dependent upon other things. Second and thirdly, money which is given to organizations such as NASA, etc., can be used somewhere else. And this is where we fucking prove to you that why we are better. But before that, I use PY. Go on, ask.
US in general spends $500 billion per year in environmental mitigations, where it is just NASA, as a member mentioned, $22.
Cool. Got
How
it.
just reducing this?
Got it. Be by your best case, but even to understand the impact that USA can utilize, if the same amount of 3 or 30 billion is still like used into like moving or mitigating to renewable resources, like increasing or like benefiting companies who are going to produce solar powers, etc. Same fucking amount of money can be used as investment in other things like global warming in terms of carbon, all those things like establishment of factories or establishing of plants which goes on to produce solar, etc., which now it's something which is on a higher demand, on a higher burden right now. Third and the fifth and the final point, Azerbaijan, internal problem, security is there. Simply let's take this out. The same amount of money that Azerbaijan goes on to spend out into his whole idea of fucking internal security is the main problem that we go on to explain. That world is on the verge of problems, and these problems is something which is a bigger scenario right now. None of the opening government also goes on to talk about. World is on a collapse of war. War can happen anytime. This is imminent. This has led to weapon race into current status. So what was the era in 1960s during Cold War and etc. The current scenario is in 2024. Whole idea, China is making laser weapons to destroy things out into a space. USA is spending huge amount of money. The reason fucking is simpler. Stocks such as Lockheed Martin, which produce defense budgets, are on all-time high, and this is the simple reason why people are buying more and more like weapons out into the current status quo, which is causing more global warming. And this is where we prove to you that why UN has only acted is the main concern to go on to debunk into this. None opening government ever talks about this to a great extent. Opening government even proves to you the bigger problem. The bigger problem is the current world onto a state of power, and UN is the only fucking thing which is going to control this. Two main reasons that I think my member also talks about, but let's quickly discuss this. Number one, that the current status quo world is on war, and secondly, even though on larger scale impact that we prove to you, we already have taken this debate here. Thank you.
I would like to thank Government Whip for this speech, and I would like to invite Opposition Whip to present their case.
Am I visible?
Yes, you are. I am
just
audible too.
Okay, just give me a minute to set the timer. Okay, Sneha, prefer gender pronoun she or her. I'll take a POI from the opening government. You can unmute yourself, probably around the 5th minute. Okay. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, in this debate, the Gov had two important metrics. They had two important burdens. One, proving to me why UN as a body is supposed to halt the space exploration program. Two, prove to me why halting the space exploration program is going to result in anything that they say on the Gov bench, right? I think on both Gov benches, OG and CG, unilaterally, they go and talk about how environment, they're going to invest in environmental pollution, they're going to decrease the kind of environmental impact that's happening, they're going to reverse climate change, etc. Right? I think I'll give you two incentives on why that's likely not going to happen. One, understand they go and their primary case goes and tells you that, look, if you take away the money that is used in space exploration, you're going to be able to go and use it in doing things for climate crisis and all of that, right? I think then two reasons why that's likely not going to happen. One, we understand the kind of situation that we are in, right? I think we agree with CG when they go and talk about we are living in a situation of war and arms race. We believe that countries, when just because now they have extra money, they're not likely going to go and invest in environmental stuff, right? We think I'm going to take you after the 5th minute. We think that they're going to likely go ahead and invest this money in military, right? China is not going to take the money and put it in doing better for the environment. They're still going to likely use that same money to do the China wall and everything, right? I think even developing nations, given that there's a fear that they could be attacked anytime, even the developing nations right now go ahead and prioritize military over like uh, environmental stuff, right? I think this is something that already exists, and this is why this is already happening, right? But secondly, understand that like for things like environmental change and like sustainable development, all of that, we think that money is not the only factor, right? We think things like macroeconomics itself come into play, right? Like these developing nations don't just see the money that they have; they look at how their economy is going to be affected by the policies that they bring in. All these issues are like something that's already existing in the current scenario, which is why we see like agreements like the Kyoto Protocol are not being there, but they're not likely, it's not likely being followed thoroughly, because all of these tiny issues that like internal issues that exist within these countries are not going to be are not addressed, right? Thirdly, I'll give you a third reasoning, right? Understand like something like military aggression is something that's individuals can understand better, right? I can see that, oh, China is probably going to attack me in the next 5 years, and that causes some amount of fear, and I would probably invest in mitigating the risks of that, right? But secondly, understand like for something like environmental degradation, even if I tell that 100 years down the line the environment is going to go bad, I cannot relate to it, right? Just because I'm now getting data and there's no emotional attachment to it, right? Given these reasons, I don't think like anything the government told so far as to how they're halting is going to result in like environmental betterment is likely going to happen. With this, OG is out of the debate, half of CG's cases out of the debate, right? I'm going to take down like what CG goes and talks about military aggression, right? They go and tell you that look, arms race is it's a situation of arms race, and there's likely monopoly on like the things that are being developed, right? Understand this monopoly is something that exists on our side on a larger, right? What you're doing right now when you like halt space exploration program is cut down the opportunity for developed nations to go ahead and find something for themselves, right? Understand, I think this comes in a member speech also, when he goes and tells you that look, the developing nations right now are investing in space exploration so that they can like come up with new tech, they can come up with things like, understand, like MRI and GPS, and there are things that came straight out of space exploration, right? Understand that monopoly of such things is likely going to happen when you halt it, right? Because countries like USA are far like on a higher level, like at an increased pace of space exploration. They have like much more discoveries that they've made, and these countries can still monopolize, right? Halting it is not going to make a difference. These countries still have the monopoly, and I think what you're now doing is cutting down the opportunity for developing nations to get into the same competition and likely find something for themselves, right? It could look like you find a better way to like reduce water pollution. You could even find something like alternative for like how plants are grown, etc., and you're like cutting off the opportunity for these nations, right? I think then why is it still a problem on CG, right? When like the whip goes and talks to me about the whole idea of UN has an incentive to go ahead and like stop military aggression. I think this is still problematic, because understand, even if countries like China are like doing lasers in the space, I think then even if you take that money out and put it, I think China is still going to invest in things like that even when they're on the ground, right? Even if you like do not have this halt, I think like China is still looking. I think like countries have there are some countries that have an incentive to look for space, look to make like military aggression and all of that, right? I don't think this is likely going to change just because you stop exploration, right? But secondly, understand, so far even we have like multiple, even like things like nuclear, things like research into nuclear energy, etc., has still not been stopped, right? Like countries like Israel still go ahead and search into, like put research into nuclear energy and all of that, even though there has been agreements, right? The major problem on side gov then comes because they, as UN as a body, is not able to ensure that it's likely going to reliably be able to make sure that these countries that are now taking out money from space are not using it for military aggression on the ground, right? I think this is where their major problem is, when they don't identify that the impacts that they're giving you is something that exists likely on both sides, right? It's problematic on their side because they're in no way able to ensure to me that, because understand, right? I think it's a comparative both of us agree on that UN is like, UN does have like certain power key players, and these are the ones that rotate about with a lot of funds and everything. Given that we understand that, I think then UN, even like things like your Kyoto Protocol, even with things like your Paris Agreement, when US could like back out from protocol, like the Kyoto Protocol, without having any repercussion from backing out, I think then UN is in no way going to be able to ensure that China suddenly doesn't back out from this agreement, or that US doesn't back out from this agreement, right? The problem here is simple. Gov goes on tells to me the problem. Gov goes on tells to me uh, environment betterment is happening. I don't think that's happening. Two, they go and tell to me how like it's going to ensure that military mass race does not happen, and we give you reasons as to why that is not likely going to happen. What do we tell you? This is something my member also tells you. We tell you that we are giving you two impacts, right? One, on a shorter term, we are telling you that space exploration is giving developed nations an opportunity to come up with new tech which they can capitalize and make a market for their own selves, right? But secondly, we are also telling you that look, given that climate crisis is like large, it's necessary for humanity itself to like be able to find some sort of hope in another country, right? We go ahead and tell you that like, look, now we're going to stop this. On a longer term, you're like cutting off the hope that exists and that which you can like likely use to find better sources for like life and everything. Proud to oppose. I'm so sorry for not taking the PIs.
Thank you, Opposition Whip, for your fine speech. Um, Now is the time where I need to go and decide for the verdict. I think we can take a moment and come back. So let's wait for the verdict. Hello everyone. Can someone confirm if I'm audible and visible? Okay, perfect. So regarding the debate, uh, we feel that it is an average debate. There was a good engagement in the second half. Uh, the motion definition had some problem. We had to talk about the space exploration programs that are to all the exploration programs that are coming in the future, but because of the PM's definition, it shifted to the both way, like with the existing space exploration program and the future space exploration program. So we run on that. I'll start by giving out the positions. The position, I'll start from fourth to first. So fourth is opening government. Third is closing opposition. Second is closing government. And the first is opening opposition. So I'll tell you why we came to this conclusion. We had a very, very long discussion and we had a confusion with respect to who should we credit based on role fulfillment, based on what material they have fleshed out in the speech, how much they were able to explain them, and so on and so forth. And there was a very, very long discussion. And after that, we came to a common conclusion. We had a completely different positioning in the beginning. So I'll start by why we ranked opening government as fourth. Opening governments, opening government came up and majorly ran on two things. That was uh, what why do we need to implement this, which is because the climate is being affected and global warming is happening. We should rather focus on climate change and global warming. So we might uh, to slow down what to slow down the pollution, we might not explore and enhance more and explore more into giving out the space programs and uh, so on and so forth. So what I feel is in the opening government's speech, I think the definition was not very strong, and then the extension was majorly focusing on two areas. That was uh, the uh, the current situation of global warming and pollution, and how space exploration is harming the current environment, and how they should have more investment on research right now and not and halt the space program based on priority. And then they were not able to explain us how priority is going to be set up. They talked about stakeholders, but they were not able to explain and expand on that. So that's why fourth. With respect to closing opposition, very good speech by uh, uh, opposition whip, but a lot of points were given out in the whip speech. Uh, these points were related to some of the points that were given out in LO and DLO speech, but none of these points were mentioned in the member of opposition speech. So the member of opposition speech explored a few points, but the whole member of opposition and opposition speech were uh, not uh, related, directly related to each other. So uh, closing government as closing opposition as third. Why closing government is second? Okay, closing government brings in very interesting parameters to the debate. They talked about a lot of topics. They bring in a lot of perspective to the debate, but why second? Because a lot of their points were brought down by the opposition whip's speech. Those points in opposition whip speech were related to the points that were in DLO and LO speech. So that's why the closing government gets the second point. Why opening opposition gets the first? Because they brought in a lot of areas to the debate. They talked about the stakeholders in details and how each of them is getting affected, and how each of them might not be motivated to do participate in uh, a mandate like this, and how countries might not even follow it. And then they have explored more into the economical side, and how foreign investment happen, people get employment, so on and so forth. I'll explain this in more detail in the further Google Meet we are going to have, why we gave opening opposition as first. I think that's the verdict, guys. It was a very good debate. I enjoyed a lot. Hope you guys did too. Okay, bye.
I would like to thank all the participants and the chair today for spending her time to judge the debate. And thank you, participants, for this encouraging debate. With this, I'd like to end the YouTube live, and all the best for the further rounds. Thank you so much for today. Have a good night, everyone.